They used to say, like, who cares? It's a story about space wizards for children. And that's basically what Star Wars turned into. I mean, it's not like it was this deeply complex thing to begin with, this story. It is simple, but the simplest stories can be the most profound. They can be the most resonant with people. And I think Good versus Evil is one of those traditional stories that just deeply connect with people. You yourself are striving to an ideal, and we just have that natural inclination to root for the good guys, to root for the heroes. And the heroes can be fallible. Yes, they're not perfect. They have their flaws and idiosyncrasies, but that's why we relate to them. That's why we can root for them like we do, because we ourselves struggle with our own mistakes and flaws and imperfections. But to see your heroes rise above and overcome challenges, the classic hero's journey just connects with people. So yeah, the simplest things can mean the most. They feel they don't need cohesion and continuity, only subversion of established lore, because that lore is morally suspect in their eyes. It's right to abolish lore in their eyes, so diluted. We've had some elements specifically taken from Disney canon lore and Legends lore, and we're supposed to be excited now about Legends stuff that was deemed non-canon, because we were getting so much flack. Fans were getting flack from the media because we had problems with Ki-Adi-Mundi, and we had problems mostly because this was George's established lore. The films are immovable objects in Star Wars history, as I said before, and that includes the characters from the films and their stories. That's all official canon. So when you change that, when you change Ki-Adi-Mundi's background, thus changing like the nature of that scene in The Phantom Menace, yeah, we're gonna have problems. But now that they put Plagueis in there, they expect us now to be happy? You just gave us all this crap about that it's not canon. Everything else, if it's not films, it's not canon. And now you want us to like, oh, why aren't you happy about Plagueis being in here? Well, first of all, how do you know it's Plagueis? The show didn't even say. The only thing for what they were saying when it comes to lore was that, yes, oh, the films are canon. But if we're going by that logic, then we don't know what Plagueis' species is. We don't know where he was, what he was doing exactly. So we just know of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. That's all we know in terms of films canon. So how do you know who this is? How do you know what that creepy dude was in the cave? Nobody going to ask why the cult of Force Witches was engaged in eugenics and experimenting on children? Splitting one person into two seems to qualify, and the Geico Gecko is now a peeping Sith. If you just think about it for like 2 seconds, it all just falls apart. Why'd you have to make the twins like this weird Force virgins? Why? And it ended up meaning nothing to the events of their individual stories and their decisions that they ultimately made. Their origin, their background meant nothing ultimately. So why did we spend so much time on it? Why did they spend so much time on something that just didn't matter in the end? Yeah, now by just inserting Plagueis in there, which did not connect to the story whatsoever. So it's just like this rando dude. If you don't know anything about the EU at all, you wouldn't know that that's Plagueis. You wouldn't know what Plagueis looked like. So you wouldn't know. You've heard about Plagueis through the films, but if you're not looking into any of the legend stuff, then you wouldn't know who that was. And they don't tell you in the show. So it's literally just this random insertion of this character, no context. We don't know why he's there. Is he connected to Kamir, the stranger? That's not even made clear. We don't know if they even know each other. You should read the Darth Plagueis novel before Leslie ruins his story in The Acolyte Season 2. I don't think anyone views this as canon in any sense. I mean, there's Legends canon, there's your own head canon, and honestly, it doesn't feel like it's connected at all. And again, yeah, it just seems like you just have this rando dark side alien. They never say the name Plagueis, but unless you know that already, which is funny. What are you trying to appeal to Legends fans now, which you've gone out of your way to antagonize this whole time? As a passive Star Wars fan, I don't know anything about the EU. I've only heard of Darth Plagueis in the films, which is just so odd to me that they've decanonized this lore, but they keep wanting to steal from it and just repurpose it. And then they make fun of us for when we see the deviations of definitely immovable canon when it comes to the films. We're like, what's the deal? you're changing this stuff that's supposedly official canon, and then they get mad at us for not liking this Legends element in there. Well, you're just not doing it right. You're not doing it in a meaningful way. I mean, yeah, you just put it in there and you expect us to clap like seals. They added Plagueis cameo to appease the fans they kicked out. Like, if you're trying to appeal to us, you spent this whole time just attacking us, especially the Legends fans have it particularly hard. Shoehorning Plagueis into this show now detracts from his story. That he got his inspiration to try and create life from the Force was from these space witches. I mean, that's what's implied, and they don't even know for sure. Leslie Headland keeps saying like these weird flip-floppy comments about whether or not there's going to be a season 2. If you didn't know there was going to be a season 2 from the start, then why'd you put him in here? Why'd you put Plagueis in there? If you only know that you have one season of a show and you don't know if you have a chance for a season 2, then maybe just have it contained and maybe leave it open for some storylines that weren't really that significant that you could continue on. But for as far as the main stuff, that needed to be concluded in a satisfactory manner, which it wasn't. Just left way more questions as far as how deep the corruption of the Jedi Order goes, that they kept all this quiet, or just they're that incompetent. And yeah, just to throw Plagueis in there, just obviously haphazardly, without any thought to whether or not you were going to continue to explain his presence and who he is and what he's doing. Plagueis is a billionaire, but they have him cowering in caves. It's all Legend stuff, though. They don't care. They just put him in there. Like, aren't you happy? Is that where all the budget went, by the way? Was for that? Because I haven't been able to see the $180 million for this show. How much did they spend on that? It's just, you gotta laugh at this point. Yeah, they make him like a homeless alien. And again, I have no idea, because it doesn't make clear if he's even there because he knows Camere. Was he his secret master? I don't know. I feel like that opens up all kinds of contradictions if now Camere is involved in Plagueis' story. But I don't know. The show doesn't make that clear. Just literally just out of nowhere, he comes out of this cave and they're like mad because we're not liking it. And when you literally, like, the past several weeks have been giving us so much flack for Kiadi Mundi for not liking that, when that was clearly lore, film lore, and then you're like, oh, but this guy's in it. Clearly something from Legends, which you've spent like weeks saying is not canon, it doesn't matter, but now it matters. Like, if we're going simply by film, you don't know who he is. You don't know what Darth Plagueis looks like, what he's doing at this time. So yeah, they like to dismiss Legends until they want to use it.